I don't know you, but for me sometimes it can be really hard to stay focused while coding. And it's kind of contradictory because I really enjoy the kind of flow you get when you're really deep into the rabbit hole of programming. It is like state of mind that your senses are deeply connected with the machine, trying to solve the specific problem. But even though it's a mental state that I really enjoy, it's just so convenient to step out, go to the fridge and completely lose track of what I was doing. We also live in an environment that we are in constant overstimulation. For me personally, I just feel like sometimes watching some YouTube or playing some video games in my computer instead of coding. So in this video, let me try to explain first why I think it's so hard to stay focused while coding, and then try to come with some tips on how to do more work. Coding is hard. It might not be a surprise that coding requires a significant amount of mental effort, from debugging an annoying error, going through all the mental stress of failure after failure, along the countless Google searches that we need to solve a specific problem. There are different roles that we as programmers assume, and because of that our brains looks away and tries to avoid this mental overhead. Our brain instead looks for short and effortless tasks that will easily reward us, like social media or video games. And coding sometimes can be too much mental commitment to our weak brains to face. For me, what have worked over the years is that you want to keep things really simple. If you're building an app that users will interact with, don't worry too much about some obscure edge case or that the code looks the best possible. Just try to make the bare minimum work and then work upon that to make it better. Refactor the code, organize things, etc. If you have a big task in front of you, try to break it down in small chunks that you can easily get started, so you don't have all of this mental pressure in your head. Coding can also be boring. So there's certain type of task associated with programming that can feel like an annoying chore and will stop us to keep us in the flow. And even though these things are not really related with programming, we must need to learn how to deal with this kind of distractions. I am talking about meetings with managers, coworkers or clients, doing reports, etc. And in the other hand, we also have coding related tasks like testing, long deployments or refactors. These things can directly get in the way of your flow, so the best advice that I have for this is to try to batch things as much as possible. So what I mean by batching is trying to make all these things in one specific time, instead of switching between coding and doing these things. For example, if you're a freelance, try to move all of your client communication to the end of the day, so you are not going to be distracted while you do the important stuff when you are the most productive. Another great example that I have is that at my current job, we all come to the decision of batching all of the important meetings to one single day. So we all know that in that day we are not going to code too much, and we are already prepared for that. We are surrounded by distractions. As I mentioned earlier, because part of our work is to connect to the internet in search for help, documentation and guidance, it's just too easy to slip your mouse to the next tab and open YouTube, Reddit or Twitter. Besides that, we also have our phones that are designed to distract us with notifications about social media, etc. So we need to really be self-aware of the things that are getting in the way and try to avoid them as much as possible. Doing that by self-discipline can be really hard, so you can try an app like Forest that will block sites that you don't want to visit when you are really focused. And for your phone, you can keep it simple, just put it away or snooze the notifications. We now have explored some of the reasons of why it's so hard to focus while coding. Let me give you some tips on how I stay focused. Identify your flow. Because coding is so hard, we have to accept that we are not going to be 100% focused all day. It's just a fact that we need to recognize. Not only you as a programmer, but also your boss or your client need to be aware of this. So once we all understand that, I think it's completely okay to go with the flow of your state of mind while coding. What I mean by this is that if you're really struggling with some problem, just go out for a walk. This will give you an energy boost and some space to think. and then go back with even more energy. The key here is to do something different from coding in a different space. So if you're coding, for example, in your house, go to the couch and relax a bit. It will clear your mind and it will help you during the day. In the same way, you need to be self-aware of the moments that you're really concentrated when you are in the programming zone, and stay as much time as possible in there. That is why it's so important to eliminate distractions in your coding space, because it's really hard to enter this programming zone. Highlight of the day. I think this is the thing that have helped me the most in my journey to coding productivity, and it's actually quite simple. The idea here is to have one unique highlight of the day. This highlight is the most important task that you want to get done in that specific day. This is going to be the thing that will make you feel good about what you accomplish. And try to be realistic here, measure your expectations. You can start, for example, fixing a small bug, and once you feel comfortable, increase the size of that highlight. I think this works because as programmers, we tend to multitask, like for example having a lot of Chrome tabs in your browser. So focusing in one particular thing will help a lot in getting things done across the week and feeling more productive. Music. This might not work for everyone, but music can really help you to stay focused while coding. What it works for me is that I have a specific playlist that I use when I want to get things done. So I have tricked my brain that when I listen to this music, I keep focused. For me, this needs to be a different kind of music that I regularly listen to. In that way, my mind associates that with being productive. I recommend you that this music does not have to have any lyrics. In that way, you are not going to be distracted by that. The music that I listen is a mix of lo-fi beats with electronic. There are plenty of playlists on YouTube and Spotify that you can search for. And finally, my last advice is not to worry too much about being productive all the time. Embrace controlled breaks, and you will find yourself in a place that you feel good with the output you produce. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you the next time.